Hey, you guys, it's Life of Nikki Lee podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're doing well and living your fullest every day. So, on tonight's podcast, we're going to be discussing violent offenders. Do you think they should get a second chance? It's been in the news recently that a woman named Stephanie Brinson, 62 years old, a mother and a grandmother, died during a conjugal visit with her 54-year-old husband, David Brinson. It was later confirmed that Stephanie was strangled to death by David, and now her murder is all over the news, which is very sad and very unfortunate. But the first thing I think a lot of people started thinking was, what was she doing with this guy? David Brinson was serving 4 consecutive life sentences for the brutal murder of 4 men in 1993. So this man had been in jail since 1994. He was going to be serving the rest of his natural-born life in prison. There was no getting out. Why this woman, decided that she wanted him, I don't know. But we're going to play a clip and just give you a glimpse into her personality of who she was.
I have doubts if I'm going to post this because I look so bad. But if there's somebody out there and you've done a lot and you know you love people, you know you do, search your heart. Ask God to help you heal from whatever that is that's hurting you, because you have to love everybody. You have to truly love. And I think that if we fall in love with Jesus, really fall in love with him, the worst of enemies can't hurt us. I've seen people have testimonies where somebody killed their child and they prayed for that person's soul.
Good morning, everybody. It's me, Stevie. It's my birthday guest, and I just want to say thank you to everybody for all the wonderful text messages this morning and the birthday wishes on Facebook. I'm very excited about this day. I'm going to have a great day. In fact, this whole year has been the best year I've had consistently for 12 years. I'm so happy. So thank you for everything.
Now, a little bit more context into this situation. 4 months prior to Stephanie's death, another incident took place at this same prison, you guys, where Anthony Curry strangled his wife, Tanya Thomas, during a conjugal visit. I do not know why it did not make headlines, but for whatever reason, it wasn't until the death of Stephanie Brinson that this began to make its rounds on the news, which was very sad and unfortunate because Tanya Thomas and Anthony Curry had a grown son together who, by the way, is in the Air Force. So now he's lost his mother, unfortunately, and of course, his father's never getting out of prison. Now, one would seem to ask, because I'm going to bring up a couple of other cases here, what makes people decide to go into the system to basically get a spouse? What makes them think that it's okay to, be married to someone behind prison walls? These are obviously people who believe in second chances. They believe in prison reform. They believe that people can change. But like I said, we're going to get into a couple of more cases, and then I'll leave you to decide if you really think people can be reformed, if you think their behavior can be changed. Now, I want to talk about Kenesha Neely next. This young lady actually lost her life in August of 2024. So she just died last year. Her husband, Moses, who she met when he was in prison, he connected with her through Facebook, and they started going back and forth and chatting, and she would go visit him, and ultimately they got married. Well, when he did get out of prison, she brought him home. She already had 2 girls, right? So she brought him home. They, were enjoying the family life. They seemed to just really be a loving family. And then they welcomed a third little girl, the little girl they had together. And it seems like when she got pregnant, all hell broke loose. Out of nowhere, his behavior became very erratic. He was abusive towards her. And at one point, she had to, basically defend herself, and she had to shoot him to get him off of her. He was arrested again. She was already a licensed bail bondsman. So she, even after all this happened, she went right back and got him out of jail. And unfortunately, not too long after that, he ended up taking her life and taking his life. So now there are 3 little girls that no longer have either parent. And it's just really sad and unfortunate. And we cannot forget what happened with Gregory Green. If you all have not heard of him, this is the man who killed his family twice. That's right, you heard me correctly. He killed his family twice. This guy had a pregnant wife. For whatever reason, they got into it. He was saying she treated him very badly. He ended up stabbing her to death. And he ended up serving time for it. Now, for whatever reason, I'm telling you all, for the life of me, I do not understand why this pastor, a pastor named Fred Harris, he was so adamant about this man getting parole and getting out of jail. He would go and visit this man. He was trying to convince the parole board that this man is good. He just made a mistake. He's a really good man. I mean, he really vouched for this guy, right? I guess being a pastor and all, he was trying to see the very best in him. And it's just really sad because when this man got out, he had already killed his first family. But when this man got out, Fred Harris not only got this man out of jail, Fred Harris introduced him to his daughter, who already had 2, older children, by the way. So Gregory met his daughter. They got married. They had 2 more children, 2 beautiful little girls. And guess what ended up happening? Everything seemed well for a little while. And then all of a sudden, his behavior is erratic. He's becoming abusive, mean-spirited. And one night he snaps. He beats his wife, and then he brings 2 of her oldest children before her and shoots them execution style, both in the back of the head. Now, the 2 little girls that they had together, what he did was he placed them in a car and I guess left it running, so they ended up dying from monoxide poisoning, I believe. But this woman lost all 4 of her children. This pastor ended up losing all 4 of his grandchildren trying to help this man, bringing him home, introducing him to his daughter, and this is what happened. So this brings us to question, can people like this really be helped? And if you really want my honest opinion, I'm just going to be very blunt here, people. When it comes to violent offenders, do I think they should get a second chance? Absolutely not. I'm not talking about, guys who, commit little petty crimes. They're a nuisance on their own. But I'm talking about people who have actually gone out there and taken someone's life. Do I think they should get a second chance? Hell no. Do you know why I think that? Because their victims didn't get a second chance. So why should they? Okay? I can understand, if you're in a situation, if it's self-defense and you have to get somebody off of you, I'm not talking about that. That's one thing. But when you truly have gone out there with the full intention to carry out the murder of someone and you know what you're doing is wrong, this is just, no, there's no coming back from that. And like I said, that victim does not get another chance. So why did you, I really don't understand how people, get murder charges and then they get a bond. I really don't understand that either. I recently heard that Yolanda Saldivar, who killed Selena, she was denied parole. And more than likely, she's going to die in prison. I am in agreement with that. I believe, that's a great thing, because Selena, she was loved by so many. She was so young when her life was taken. And it's just unfair. I believe certain people are just wired wrong. You're going to have to forgive me if that's, sounding offensive or triggering to you, but some people need to be in prison. Some people are just wired wrong. Do I think that they can change with prison reform? No. If something was wrong with them before they went in there, trust and believe, I don't think prison is going to make it any better. As a matter of fact, I think prison may make it worse. And that's just my opinion on it. So, no, I don't think they should get second chances, because you see it too many times in the media. Other than the cases that I mentioned, you see it too often how people, they get these chances and then they screw it up all over again. How these two men at Mule State Creek Prison were able to get conjugal visits after what they did. Anthony Curry, by the way, if you didn't know his charges, he actually was charged with attempted murder. He had a 19-year-old girlfriend that he shot in the head. Thank God she didn't die, but he took her somewhere, shot her in the head, left her for dead. And the woman that he ended up, Tanya, they actually knew each other during this time. So around the time that Tanya was giving birth to their son, he was out shooting this woman. So they had such a history together. The fact that years and years later, he still took this woman's life after he had already been to prison for almost taking the life of another lady is mind-blowing. And that's why I say, ladies, men, whoever, you cannot save everybody. Some people are in prison because they need to be. And that's just it. You can't help them. You can't help everybody. So you guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think violent offenders deserve second chances? Do you know anyone who's been changed through prison reform? If so, let me know in the comments. This is Nikki Lee signing out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.